Hey everyone. So, I've been feeling lost lately. And not like myself, but also not like anyone else. I'm in this in-between stage right now. Stage where I don't know who I am. And I think that's because, I don't know what's next. And I know a lot of people can relate to that because I'm sure we've all been through stuff and we're all just expecting something else to happen. I'm the kid that grew up with a narcissistic mother. I was deprived of that safety, security, and proper loving parental guidance that today's kids would be lucky to get. I grew up with someone who would be clingy and loving and just the best mom in the world, and then the next day she'll call you horrible names, push you away like you're nothing, and make you seem like you're the problem. Out of all, 7 of us, I was the one my mother targeted the most. My mother was loving growing up. I was her little girl. And my father, I was his everything. My dad wanted a little girl. He wanted a daughter. And he had 5 sons before he got his daughter. And then he got his daughter and he was happy, and he got another one, and then he realized everything was too much for him and he decided to leave. So I had a father who abandoned me and a narcissistic mother. The worst combination. And I wasn't the best child. At times I did blame her for him leaving. I truly believed in some ways she might have pushed him away. But in other ways, I think he just didn't realize what he was committing to. And there's no justifying him leaving. Shitty dad. Also shitty because he died and left me. But he would only show up occasionally in my life and try to talk and try to make it seem like he was always around. In some ways, she wasn't either. She wasn't really the mother I thought she was. When I was little, I realized she wasn't good. I think maybe that's why I didn't want to cuddle her, because I didn't trust her love. I remember when I was 6, I had a babysitter throw me in on a bed because I was having a tantrum. And I told her nothing. She did nothing. And then I was 10, and I told her that a family member sexually assaulted me. She goes, "That didn't happen." Even though I had the courage to tell her at the age of 10, she didn't have any empathy in her. She told me that's not sexual assault, and told me about how she was actually raped when she was younger. I'm not denying that that happened to her, but she denied what happened to me, as if she didn't go through a similar thing. And I get why she wanted to believe that it wasn't true, because the person it was hit close to home. But it was. And if your daughter comes to you and tells you something so personal, no matter what, you should be there. You should make her feel safe, because maybe she doesn't. And I didn't feel safe. And I thought the one thing that would have made me feel safe was telling my mom that it happened. But it wasn't. My mom was cool. and she was supportive. She was a very tough mom to anyone. She's like a mama bear. She had her tribe of people that helped her out and took care of us. She likes to claim she did it all on her own, but in reality, she used everyone in her community to the fullest extent just to make do. I remember always having food on the table, even if we were broke, and I also remember being broke because she constantly spent money. And when I got into high school, she was so cool. I felt like she was the coolest mom. She knew I did good in school and had really good grades, so she would just let me skip sometimes, even picking me up to cut class. You know, like, I'm not saying she was a bad mom, but she was bad to me. She's the type of person that you can make friends with out of nowhere. And she seems really cool to a lot of people. But if you actually get to know her, you're going to see that she's not the prettiest soul behind the scenes. One of the hardest fights we had was back when I was like 15 or 16. We almost got evicted from the one house we were actually stable in. She was complaining, and I was like, quit fucking complaining. Get a job. And I'm gonna stop you there, because don't be like, why would you speak to your mother like that? My mother relied on everyone to the fullest extent, so she didn't have to do the work. She didn't have a job for the longest time, and I know being a single mother is a job, but she wasn't raising us on her own. She had plenty of help. Even my older brothers were like dads to us. They didn't choose to be, they had to be. But if you have all this help, like, why aren't you helping yourself? But yeah, so back when I was like 15, we almost got evicted, and I was like, get a fucking job. Like, stop blaming everything. Start, like, trying. The next day, we were at the Waffle House, and I remember telling her, why don't you put an application in here? And she did. And she got the job, and she loved it there. She made tons of friends, and she was really happy. Shouldn't have had to be the one to tell my mother to get a job. But I did, and that changed things for us. But she still did the same old things. She'd spend her money and then rely on everyone else to give it back to her, when it was her carelessness that made her lose that money. Things got harder. I think I really don't know what set everything off. She was turning into her mother, who was constantly so negative for her. Like, I see where she gets it from. I really do. And I knew how badly she did not want to end up like her mother, but she did. There's so much hate in her heart. I got my first job. She told me, that money is yours, you know, you're working for it, keep it. I thought it was mine. And the next month, she was like, now that you have a job, you're gonna start paying a bill. So it wasn't mine. So I started paying a bill. Then, like, I just felt trapped. You know, like, I felt like I was getting held down being there. And I probably would have been. I became an adult, making my own money. And I started to isolate myself. I felt like every time I went around my mom, anything I did became a fight. Not physical, sometimes, but it was mostly just verbal and emotional. She would beat me down any chance she could. I felt like everything was like my fault. And I really felt gutted. I kept to myself. I stayed in my little room. I did my own dishes. I bought my own groceries. I cleaned up after myself. I stayed quiet. I didn't leave the house unless it was to get food or groceries, and sometimes see my friends. What got me to leave, and I was already planning on moving out. I actually had been saving up money in hopes to move away with my best friend. But this isn't how I left. That's not how I left. I wanted to leave on my own terms. And then, I believe it was 2021 when this happened. Christmas Eve, I came home with groceries. I was putting them away in my little drawer. I had a little drawer in the fridge, and I had a little spot in the freezer for my food. And I was putting away my groceries. My mom was in the kitchen. And she said to me, "You better take those groceries out of my fridge." And I said, "I just bought these. I'm putting away my groceries." And she goes, "You either take them out of my fridge or I throw them in the trash." And I said, "You're not throwing away my groceries. I just bought these. Like, I need my food." And she goes, "Well, you don't need to keep it in my fridge." I told her, I said, "This isn't your fridge. You didn't buy this. My brother actually bought the fridge when he was living there." And she was like, she said that, she goes, "It's my fridge, and you need to take those groceries out or I'm throwing them in the trash." And I said, if you throw my groceries away, I'll call the police and I will make you pay for them." She goes, "I was waiting till after the holidays because I was trying to be nice, but I can have you removed from this house in a day if I need to. I was already planning on kicking you out, but if you keep this up, I'm going to have you removed from the house." And I told her, I said, "You're not going to do that. Like, I pay a bill here. I live here. Like, you'd have to properly evict me, and that doesn't happen overnight." She goes, "Yes, I can." She was saying, "Oh, I looked up this, blah, blah, blah." I don't even remember what it said. I checked with my brother after this, and that wasn't true. It wasn't legal for her to do. But she says, "I can do that, and I will." And then she was saying, "Keep this up, and you're going to be in a body bag on the side of the street." Those words are embedded in my fucking brain. Because that's the moment when I realized I lost her. That the fight was over and she wasn't coming back. Sorry. It's really hard for me to talk about. Because whenever I talk about that moment, it just feels like I'm living it all over again. No parent should say that to their child. No parent should threaten to kill their own fucking blood. After this, I didn't question what made her say that to me, because I realized that wasn't my mother. And I think that's what was the saddest part of it all, is leaving that house and leaving that situation. It's like my mother was dead. To me, it felt like she was dead. Like she died in that moment. And when I left and I went and saw my best friend. Well, first I sat in the parking lot nearby and I called my brother. And he said, "Why do you think she said that? What do you think you did to make her say that? She doesn't just say those things." What did I do? I did nothing. I didn't deserve anything from her. Any of the hate or negativity. And it's crazy. Because, like, growing up, I was so proud to be her daughter. She put so much confidence in me that even when I was bullied in middle school, it didn't faze me. Even when people didn't like me in high school, it didn't faze me because I had my own friends. I was such a confident little girl, such a confident teenager and adult because of her. For her to say those things to me, it hurt. It broke a piece of my soul off. After I talked to my brother, I hung up on him because I couldn't believe what he was saying to me. I went and saw my best friend, and I told him what happened. And I really appreciate you if you're watching this. You probably saved my life. He called his mother, and he asked her if I could move in. Said I needed to move in. And then he helped me get all my stuff out of her house because I knew it wasn't safe to go back there by myself. So I cleared out all of my stuff and I moved in with him. It was a little bit like uncomfortable at first, getting used to living somewhere else because I lived in that house for a really long time. But then it was really good. I felt really safe. I felt really heard and seen by both his mother and him. And he was the one I was going to move away with, my best friend. And I was so happy to be there. And we were supposed to save up money by a certain month to move away. And when it got closer, we got into this fight because he kept telling me he was saving up and he wasn't. And I was trying my hardest to save up because I really wanted to leave the state. But he didn't. We got into a fight. He screamed in my face. We argued and we just realized this wasn't a healthy relationship. We had a lot of personal things going on. And I think I still needed to heal from what had happened with my mother. And I wasn't healing properly being there because we were trying to distract ourselves every day that when problems happened, they were too much and overwhelming for both of us. And his mother talked to me and said, I think it would be best if you moved out. And I understood that. And then I became determined to move out. She told me that, I want to say like May 1st. And she also told me that she would be charging me $100 a week if I continue to stay there or until I find a place. Fair. I found a new place May 4th. Didn't even stay the week. I moved in with a close friend and his close friend. And I lived there, shared a place with a few people. It didn't really work out. That's okay. But it was my first place on my own. It was really nice. Very freeing. And I had space to heal, but I don't think I fully did. And then my brother offered me a place to live that I could rent out. And it would mean I'd move to a different city. I'd be closer to my boyfriend, who made me the happiest girl ever. And I was like, you know what? I think this is the change I needed. And I did it. I transferred jobs. I moved to a whole new city, changed the address on my license. Felt like a whole new person. I felt very freeing and happy and just everything. I started to feel a lot better. I started to heal. And then I left my job that was suffocating me. Don't work at Walmart. And I felt even better. since then, I just feel lost. I think it's because I'm waiting for something else to happen, more trauma or problems. I think I haven't really had the security and the safety knowing that nothing bad's gonna happen. I haven't had the peace. I haven't had the quietness. And having it now, I just feel like I feel weird about it. I should be happy, right? I should be, doing everything I want, but instead I'm just resting a lot and in my own little world, but not. I feel quiet, isolated, but I know I'm not. Like, I don't have to be if I don't want to be. I can go anywhere, I can see anyone, I can do whatever I want. Have my own little house. I should be happy, right? Then why am I not?